Hi everyone, good afternoon. It is Sarah Shipton here from Scrapbooking with Sarah, and I'm coming live to you today on Tuesday, February 17 for this week's Technique Tuesday. And am I having a bunch of fun creating with the Beach Time Suite collection, or I should say Beach Boardwalk Suite collection, plus also the Beach Time scrapbooking products from the Scrapbooking from Scratch range of products from Stampin' Up. And I have created the Beach Time scrapbooking workshop kit. If you want to see those layouts, head to my YouTube, just search Scrapbooking with Sarah, and it was the week 1 video for February. What I'm doing for the remainder of this month is creating our weekly scrapbooking challenges using leftovers from my scrapbooking workshop kit, and then pairing them with coordinating products from the Beach Time and the Beach Boardwalk range. So thank you for joining me today. If you're coming on live, Doreen is here. I'm running a little bit late today. I had some appointments this morning, and then I had some urgent admin work I needed to do in the office. So here we go. Let's get right into it. We are creating a double page spread. This week, we are working with the pattern on page 55 of the Reflections Scrapbook program. This is an old how-to pattern book. I do believe that you can purchase this on Amazon. It was one that I used quite some time ago, and I've pulled it back off my shelf because we are getting back to basics with our scrapbooking. We're getting photos on pages. We're getting stories and albums, my favorite things to do. And this story, actually, I'm going to go into the story first of all, because sometimes I forget to share the story, and you know how much I all love to tell the story. These photos, honestly, I kid you not, as soon as I saw these papers released in the January to April mini catalogue, I knew that I was going to be scrapbooking some of our photos from our trip to Mexico. This was a couple of years ago in 2024, so almost 2 years ago, and this was actually part of an incentive trip that I earned during my time with Close to My Heart. We stayed in the El Dorado Resorts and Suites, but guys, get this, the hotel, the resort I should say, had so these are like the resort rooms, and every level of the balcony of the resort rooms had swimming pools that you could literally step outside of your hotel room into the water. So off your porch, we had this gorgeous little or patio, I should say, patio area. So we sat out here and had breakfast most mornings, and then you could step up into this pool, and the swimming pool literally ran the length of every floor. So I mean, you tried not to swim. I mean, I knew my neighbors either side of me, which was fine, but you didn't want to kind of go swimming along the balcony in case people were having, you know, quite relaxing time out the front of their own suite. But let me tell you, we have never ever stayed in a property like this before, and it was absolutely mind-blowing. So I had to, needless to say, I had to document a scrapbook layout showing this, the beautiful view that we had looking down over the resort pool. This was the main pool with the swim up pool bar. We've got a like deck here, but this overlooks the Caribbean Sea, and it was just incredible. We had a stunning view, and I just couldn't believe it. I've never stayed in a place like that before, and it was incredible. So I was so excited to document these photos. And the reason why I knew I was going to scrapbook them is, look at these orange umbrellas and this beautiful blue. This was just screaming Timid Tiger at me, and I knew straight away that this was going to be the color palette that I was going to work with on this scrapbook layout. So as a rule of thumb, I will typically pick 3 colors with my scrapbook layout to focus on. In this instance, I've gone with Timid Tiger and Pool Party, which is also my nail color, girls, for this week. And, you know, I've brought in a little bit of the green and the yellow with the stickers and stuff as well. I haven't got like a third color that I stamped with, but that was kind of like the color scheme that I was going with. The green was Granny Apple Green. So probably a little bit brighter in terms of the palm trees, but not that big a deal. but I saw this designer series paper and I was like, oh my gosh, I absolutely have to use that. So let's talk about your cutting dimensions for this layout. You've got a double page. We're turning a single page into a double page spread. You're going to need 2 sheets of either cardstock or designer series paper. I've used cardstock for my base, Timid Tiger, and the original side of Timid Tiger. So you're going to use them as your base for your scrapbook layout. Then now the reason I say that is that the first piece that this pattern wants you to cut is a piece at 7.5, which is actually the width of the outside to here of my page. So rather than cutting my paper, I just used cardstock as my base. Okay, so I wanted this as my base, but the pattern paper, I didn't want to cover all the palm trees. Okay, and so I actually cut this paper down and cut that paper down, and I've stuck it over the top of my cardstock. Okay, so if you don't want to waste designer series paper as your base for your scrapbook layout, then my suggestion would be to use cardstock. So if you're going to do that, then you're not going to cut this first piece at 7.5 inches. If you are, you could use maybe like white willow as your base cardstock, and then you could cut these dimensions as the instructions have given you, and then you could actually just stick that 7.5 inch piece over the top of your white willow. So I sometimes do that if I want a bit of extra thickness, or if I was using pattern paper here and pattern paper here, that's when I would stick paper on top of white willow as my base. So I hope that makes sense. Give me a thumbs up or drop a comment below if that makes sense to you. So I have not cut piece A. The second piece you're cutting, piece B, is just a 1/2 inch strip, and you're going to stick this 1/2 inch strip over the top of your pattern paper or designer series paper or cardstock here. This piece here is a 4-inch strip, so 12 inch. These are all 12 and 12, and you're going to stick this 1/2 inch over the top of this 4-inch piece. And so that is pretty much it, guys. So as I mentioned last week, I've done a mirror image of this layout. So then I've got my designer series paper meeting in the middle, and the layout goes outwards like so. Okay. Now, in this instance where we've got one photo, so main frame tied together is great if you want to do a single page layout. This might be a cover or a title page in your album. It might be the end page in your scrapbook album where you need just a single layout. It could be a special main frame photo, maybe like an engagement, a wedding, and a celebration milestone for an anniversary, a baby being born, a special commemorative birthday. So anything that, or in this case, just a trip to New York, which is definitely right up there, okay? So any photo that you want to highlight and really be like, wow, then that's when these large photos on a single page layout look absolutely fabulous. So the photo orientation is 7 by 5 inches. And then they've actually cut an 8 by 6 inch piece to go around the 5 by 7 inch photo as your mat. So if you wanted to do that, you certainly can. And I know that some of my beautiful ladies in my scrapbooking community are actually creating collages, first of all, in photo collage apps. So there's one called Photo Collage. There's one called Pic Collage. I use Pic Collage a lot. And so you could actually get a collage size, and you could put multiple photos into your collage, and then you print it 5 by 7 inch wherever you go to get your photos printed. Okay, so that is a good tip, and I have seen a lot of my customers do that, and it looks fantastic. So that is an option for you. In this particular situation where I've got multiple photos that I wanted to use, the tip that I would give you for that is to cut your papers for your pattern. Get the bones. I talked about this last week. Get the bones of your layout done. So in this case, I've got my base page. I've got some designer series paper. I've got a 1/2 inch strip here as well. And then you can play around with where your photos want to go. Now, when it came to cropping my photos, I had 12 photos that I printed of this particular setting. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 5. I've got 9 photos I've ended up using. So the other photos I didn't use. So what I recommend that you do in this instance is you cut your photos down to the scrapbooking size. So it might be 2 by 2 inch, 3 by 3 inch, 4 by 4 inch, 4 by 6 inch, 3 by 4 inch, 5 by 7 inch, and then you can have a play around with where you want your photos to go in terms of the orientation. So these two photos I kept at 4 by 6 inches because they were fabulous. I did actually print all these photos 4 by 6 inch. These are fabulous. This was a perfect view. And this also is a photo of a perfect view. This was a landscape photo, but I put this one in as well. I know these photos are similar. I put this one in as well because I wanted to be able to remember the scale of the property that we stayed at, and how many floors up it went. Just being able to see that coming up out of the pool there, I just wanted to have those different orientations or different views of my image. Okay, so pick the photos you want to keep 4 by 6 inch first, and then start working down how you can crop your photos to be able to fit on your page. So this one was best 4 by 4 because I wanted the orange umbrellas in. I wanted the height of the photo. This one also was best 4 by 4, so you could get a capture of the breakfast out on the patio here, but still getting that view. So I cut out the waste of space from the top of the photo and maybe took about 1/4 inch off of here. So I'll crop my photo down to like normal photo sizes that I use for scrapbooking and that you would be familiar with from the scrapbooking workshop kits, and then I play around with the orientation. Now I cut all of these photos at 3 by 4 inch landscape, and then when it came time to lay them out, I was like, you know what, I could actually cut a couple of these down to 3 by 3. You're getting the gist here. Like, I'm out in the pool, I'm looking over the balcony, you can see the view. I was able to cut out some of the larger poles in these other photos. I was able to cut a pole out of this one. And so, you know, if you're nervous to crop your photos down, my suggestion is go from like 4 by 6 down to 4 by 4, right? And then once you cut it down, like, oh, you know what, could I take any more off of this? Like, realistically, I could have actually made this 3 by 4, but I wanted to have the vision here of the breakfast on the patio looking out over the pool and the view, and it just takes me right back to that moment and how relaxed we were and how spoilt we felt on that particular trip. So these tips I'm giving to you because you're not using a 5 by 7, or you may choose to. If you don't want to use a 5 by 7 inch photo, this is my kind of thought process and work process in terms of getting it all to come together. And then I just play around with where I want to lay them. Now, as you can see here, I've kept all my photos to the outside on the cardstock because I didn't want to cover this beautiful designer series paper. I initially had this photo down here, so your larger photos will look better at the bottom of your page because it's just going to obviously make it look heavy if you've got those larger photos down the bottom. And then I decided to pop this one up here and balance it out with these two across here. It meant that I didn't have a lot of room to play with for my border, so I've really got about 1/8 around the outside there to be able to keep my photos mostly on the cardstock. I opted to matte this photo here. It just needed a bit more color. You don't have a lot of room here in terms of your height to be able to matte every single photo, okay, depending on what size photos you cut yours down to. You can see here I didn't have a lot of room, but matting one as like a feature or a focal photo really helps to make that photo stand out, and it adds a little bit more color to your scrapbook layout as well. Because I matted that middle one, I decided to matte these two here as well through the middle, okay? So once I got my photo orientation on, laid out, I was then able to decide where I wanted my embellishment clusters and journaling boxes to go. And I've talked about this before, but a great tip with your embellishment clusters is a rule of thirds. So you can see I've got 3 embellishment clusters here, and they go in like a triangular shape, okay? So that just makes it look a little balanced, aesthetic. The eye is drawn from left to right when they're looking through your album, and automatically those standout little features there, okay? But before I get into the embellishing side in a bit more detail, let's talk about the technique which I'm here to show you today, and that is creating a continuous stamped border running on your scrapbook page. Now, you might be thinking, well, you've stamped that border, Sarah, and then you've covered it all up with photos. That's okay, right? It's meant to kind of just be another element, another feature to your scrapbook layout, and I've got the word paradise stamped through there. So let's move this up a little bit, and then I'm going to bring some things into view here for you that we are going to play with. So I've got the Beach Time stamp set, which is part of the Beach Time Scrapbooking with Scratch products. I will post links in the comments below to all of the goodies I'm sharing with you today. If you've not purchased a stamp set recently, are you guys loving the new packaging? Just to give you some differentiation here. Oh my God, I didn't pronounce that correctly. I got all jumbled up then. Look at the size here. So you can see that you've got quite a bit of a difference in size in terms of height, but no more storage / DVD cases, which I am super excited about because these do take up a fair bit of room in your storage. I'm loving this new envelope style. I'm also loving the stamp print on the front as well. You've got the item code, which you can search really easily on my website, and then some graphics on the back here for how to use your stamps. So these make it really easy to organize too, but I will just actually pull into view. These obviously have all of the older stamp cases in here, but I bought this container. You can get this from Kmart or Target. They were only a few dollars each, and these fit perfectly the stamps. They're going to fit the thinner ones as well, so you can put your stamps and your dies and your embossing folders in these. Some of the thicker embossing folders I've just moved so they go that way, and I've got the extra width here, and these are just stored in my bookshelf to the left of me here, so I can grab my stamps and my dies and my embossing folders really quickly and easily, and they look great too. Okay, so let's get back to the stamping. We're going to open this bad boy up. I'm so excited to share this with you. Now, if you saw my video from last week, you will know that we have a joining offer on for February, and it is the Stampin Positioner. So this tool, I won't go into a huge amount of detail today because I did that last week, but this particular tool will help you to get precision point stamping every single time. So if you are not confident with stamping, you're going to really love this tool. Now, it's not available for sale. I was able to get this during a pre-order period for demonstrators only. How you can get your hands on it during February is to join my team as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. So I will put a join link in the comments below if you are interested in that offer. And this comes for free in your starter kit. And this plus the grid paper that I bought as well, it also comes with this additional ruler, but we're not using it today. So I've just got that here to the side. The base, the magnets, this large stamping plate, and then this small alignment plate. Off the top of my head, I think it was like $106 Australian to buy it all of, like, that is the tool, plus that's the grid paper as well, okay? So let's show you how we are going to do the stamped borders. So, you know what? In the old world, I would have actually just winged this. I would have just eyeballed it. I would have put my stamp on a block, and I would have used this 12-inch strip or half-inch strip of paper, and I would have just winged it and eyeballed the stamping along there from side to side, okay? So this does add an extra step to your stamping, but I know that I have some of my customers that don't do a lot of stamping on their scrapbook layouts because they're worried they're going to mess it up, okay? Because once it's on your scrapbook layout, you've got to kind of, it's not like just stamping for a card, right? Like if I'd have stuffed this tiny little thing up, it's fine. I can just cut, I've got more white willow cardstock here as a scrap, but stamping on your scrapbook page can be a little scary. And, you know, we're worried about stuffing it up, and I'm speaking from experience there, but I'm here to tell you that this is so much fun. So let's start with, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my large plate off. I'm stamping with the Positioner facing downwards today, and you've got the Stampin' Up logo here. And I'm going to take these little magnets off, and I'm just going to bring in, I actually have some scrap paper here. I actually created this. Don't laugh at me. Kayla goes to me, that looks like grade school scrapbooking, Mum. That's so bad. Like, look at you, fussy cut your face out. She was teasing me so much. It was so funny. But I don't know if you remember when Taylor Swift dropped her latest album. I don't know what it's called, because I like Taylor, but I don't like necessarily, buy albums and stuff. It must be The Life of a Showgirl. Oh my gosh, Sarah, I cannot believe I just said that. I do know what the album's called, because the whole reason I did this title, The Life of a Scrapbook Girl, and I did it in the orange, is you might remember that when she dropped her album, everyone everywhere was jumping on that bandwagon and that trend. And so I actually did my own 12 by 12, The Life of a Scrapbook Girl here, with the letters, and cut my face out. And I put this in the front cover of my scrapbook album. It was just for fun. So I had it here, and I haven't actually pulled this off yet. And in fact, I was going to use the back of this for my base page, but I decided I wanted the darker Timid Tiger. You can see the lighter tone here. So because I'm not going to keep this, I'm actually just going to stamp on this today, because we are stamping Timid Tiger on Timid Tiger, and this is going to look fabulous. So what I'm doing here for my scrapbook layout is I'm putting my 12-inch piece of cardstock onto the base, and I'm going to keep that flush up against the edge here, okay? And then I'm going to put my magnets on here, because that's going to hold that cardstock in place. Now, what I did with my stamp, because I wanted to make sure that I was going to get a continuous border the whole way around, I measured first of all the length of my stamp. So then I knew how far I needed to move my cardstock along each time I wanted to stamp. This will make sense in a minute. Now, the length of this word paradise is 2 inches, okay? So I'm going to pop it here in this top corner. So we are going to get paradise on here like so. So we're going to pop it down on the cardstock, okay? And then this is because this is where I want it to go, right? And we're going to stamp along this outside edge here. I'm doing this a little bit differently today, because what I've done here is I've actually stamped it on the side. Okay, so I put these 2 pieces of paper down, and then I stamped along that, okay, just as a guide there for you. So I've got my paradise stamp down. I'm going to put my large plate over the top, and then I'm going to press down to pick up the stamp, okay? You might need to just pop your finger under there to move the paper. And so the stamp is here on my plate. And what we're going to do is, let me move this to the side here. We are going to open up our Timid Tiger classic Stampin' Pad. Who would have thought I'd be using orange on my scrapbook layout, girls? And then we're actually going to pop the grid into the ink pad like so, okay? I need to do this so I'm not like, got a little bit of angle there, okay? So I'm just tapping that stamp into the ink, making sure I've got that covered up all nicely. And then I'm going to pop that plate back over my scrapbook layout, and I'm going to press that plate down, okay? So what that's going to do is stamp the word paradise for me. Look at that, girls. It is perfect. And then I'm just going to pop that plate to the side. We're going to take our magnets off, and I'm going to move my scrapbook layout 2 inches along. Now, this ruler is a little bit different to your Stampin' Up trimmer, in that the 0 starts in the middle, and then the measurements for either your inches or your, so for both metric and imperial, go outwards. So I know we don't work in inches typically in Australia. We would use centimeters. However, in scrapbooking land, we use inches, okay? So we've got the 0 here, and I can see that from the outside of my plate to here, so that's 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch. There's my 2 inches for the width of the stamp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that 2 inches along, and I'm going to come with that E just to the outside of my plate here, or I could even line up the cardstock on that side there, and then I know that's going to be exactly 2 inches. Okay, so then I'm going to put my magnets back on. I've got the stamp is still on my grid plate, and then we are just going to ink that up again. And when I set that grid over the top of the plate over the top of the base, that is going to be aligned. You want to make sure that your base page of your scrapbook is lined flush against those little what do you call those? I don't know, those little dots there. And then we're going to press down. So exciting! Loving, loving, loving using this. And then we are going to move that along again another 2 inches. So I could line it up here at the 3, because I know that's 1 inch there. And I need to probably bring it over a little bit more, because I haven't got a very big gap there. We're going to stamp this bad boy up, or ink that bad boy up, I should say. I'm going to pop that over the top and press that down. The really cool thing is that if you don't, oh my gosh, look, I preempted that. If you don't apply enough pressure, which, you know, I haven't pressed right down that corner, you can just put your plate right over the top and restamp it. So I know that for some of my customers, that's one thing that they struggle with their stamping, because they're worried about pressing too hard, or they might not have the strength in their hands or their wrist to be able to do that. I'm just going to move this along a little bit here to bring this back into frame. So I hope you are enjoying this little demonstration. I'm just going to ink up that stamp again. We're going to pop that over the top. It's kind of weird because you go to do it and you're like, oh my God, have I done it right? It's like it's still in the same place, Sarah. And then we're just going to press that down. So this particular technique would work great if I mustn't have had this straight here before, because I can see that this one, I mustn't have had my paper straight. Here I am telling you to make sure your paper's flush up against the edges here, and I didn't do that. The really cool thing with this particular tool is that if you've got some border stamps that you want to do, I'm excited to have a play with that, and you will see me do some more of that probably in April. Okay, so we're just popping that plate over again, pressing that down. We're almost there. How fun. Take my magnets off, move that along another 2 inches as well, because all of these are straight. I mustn't have had my paper flush there, girls. All right, and we're going to have the magnets just here. Now you might be thinking, oh, those magnets, but these have got little bendy bits on the end. So when you press down, the magnets actually press down too. Isn't that clever? They've thought of everything. So impressive. Just a couple of taps. You don't need to apply a huge amount of pressure there. Now this one's going to go slightly off the edge here. Okay, but that's all right, because that's the whole point of continual bordering as well. And then you want to grab your Stampin' Chamois. I have found this easier to clean using the Stampin' Chamois rather than getting out your spritzer and your scrub. So this is wet, this Stampin' Chamois. Well, it's not wet, it's like probably damp. I've got it in one of the Stampin' Up storage cases. Okay, so oh, hang on, the other thing I was going to do was get my Stampin' Chamois and just wipe off that E. So if you're worried about stamping off the edges of your scrapbook layout, you could actually put down some of the grid paper as well and have that down on top of your plate, or the base. I keep saying plate, I mean base, before you start your stamping as well. So that is my little demonstration for you today on using, I'm just going to take my stamp off and pop that on top of there. It comes with the inner box, so I will keep it stored in my box because I'm a little fussy like that. I like my things to last, and they do if you look after them. So we're going to clean that off with the Stampin' Chamois, and then I can just pop that back on my carrier sheet and then put that on the protective cover for the stamp set. So what do you think, girls? I hope you can see that in the light okay. I'm doing it a bit later this afternoon, so the light isn't super good there. So that is how I stamped my continual border running through the middle of the page here. So the embellishing, I had some leftover die cuts from my scrapbooking workshop kit. So we punched out the word sun, and I kept that. I've got the letters here with sun, and I've just put these up on some mini Stampin' Dimensionals, and that's been stuck over the top of the photo. The stamping on this page here, we've stamped the word fun. Another little trick I want to give you is I actually pre-cut my white cardstock down before I stamp on it. And what I do beforehand is actually measure the stamp. So I'll put this over the top of my grid, and then that gives me an idea of how wide and how long I need my scrap paper to be. So then when I stamp the word, it's evenly placed on the cardstock, okay? So in this instance, I think it was like 1.5. Actually, let me get my mat out and we can test it. In fact, what did I just do with that grid paper? We can use the grid paper for this. Oh, here it is. So I got my stamp and put it over here. There we go. So if I look at the word fun here, I would have cut it 2 inches in length, or I think I brought it down a little bit. So you can use the grid to get an idea of how wide you want this area to be. So I would have cut that at 2 inches by 1.25. And then I've stamped the word fun using pool party inside there. I wanted to make a title saying fun in the sun. I didn't have the stickers. I've ordered more papers and stickers, but the stickers hadn't come, so we needed to create that with the stamps. There's a fun in the sun stamp set, so I actually stamped fun in the sun using Timid Tiger, and then I've just cut with my scissors out, I've cut off the word fun and sun at the end. I've used inner and stuck that over the top, and then I've just made a little ribbon embellishment here with those same words. So you can make your own titles with stamps for your scrapbooking, which is really fun. So this was a leftover sticker from my scrapbooking workshop kit. These were also left over from my scrapbooking workshop kit. So one of the layouts had us using 2 journaling boxes, and I didn't need 2, I just needed the 1. So I was able to use this on this layout. This was the leftover scrap of the sticker from one of the layouts in the scrapbooking workshop kit. So I've just tucked him down under there. We had the word holiday left. This little embellishment cluster here, this is using the circle punch. It was 2 3/8 circle punch off the top of my head. And then I've stamped the starfish in Timid Tiger. I've just done some random stamping here. I just used my block as I would normally stamp inside the circle here. So random stamping, I've stamped off the edges of the circle here. Leftover sticker and die cut from the scrapbooking workshop kit. One of the layouts said, let's go to the pool. And the photos I was using for that layout was actually the beach. So I cut out my own title, the word beach, and I knew that I would find something else to use with some pool photos. And so this was perfect here. I've just got the word pool there. And then I have used, to finish it off, just bling it up a little bit, I've used some puffy stickers from the Beach Boardwalk puffy stickers kit. And then I have, pack, sorry. And then I've used some of the holographic resin dots as well, just for a little bit of bling here. Okay, so this is in your January mini catalogue, and these are currently, I think these are in last chance products at the moment here in Australia. So that is my layout for you this week, girls. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you so much to those of you that have joined. I can see that Sonia is on. Hi, Sonia. Thanks for joining. And Diane. Hi, Diane. Thanks for coming in today, girls. If there's anyone else I've missed, I don't always see everyone when they pop up. But I hope that's been helpful for you, and you are excited about either the joining offer for February, or at the very least getting your hands on your own Stampin' Positioner when Stampin' Up makes that product hopefully available for sale after the joining offer is finished. Fingers crossed on that one. I haven't heard anything about that, so I don't know. I don't know what the intention is there. So that's my layout for this week, guys. Have a great week. I can't wait to see what you come up with for this week's scrapbooking challenge. Bye for now.